Okay, so we're class 47 on the Golden Doves, page 12. The mystics ascertain that in its pristine state, Torah Kedumah, the Torah included what later on became known as the written and oral law. So, because we know that in mystical thinking, the Torah existed prior to the creation of the world. The pasuk in Mishle says, "Adonai kanani reshit darko kedem mif'alav me'az." So that's like the wisdom speaking and saying that God has created me, has fashioned me at the very beginning, before any of his actions, meaning the creations of the world. So the Torah was already there. And this Torah Kedumah, this early Torah, it was in a different formatting. It was in a different computer language, if I may. And in this formatting, the written and oral law were combined because there was no written need for an interpretation of the text, right? So it's a different system of data, pre-creation, right? So this is the Torah that the Malachim are protecting. So this is the type of Torah that the Malachim were protecting when Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to remove the Torah or take the Torah from Har Sinai. The Malachim were there. That was the Torah Kedumah. The division of written and oral came after the articulation of the law. So it's only after the law is articulated into human language. At that point, once you have the articulation into human language, is there a need to have this division between written and oral? Written being the fixed textual format, which is unchanging, and oral being the interpretation of the fixed textual format. Concerning this doctrine, the Rabbi Eliyahu ben Amozek, the great Chacham from Livorno, 19th century, writes that these two laws, the written law and the oral law, known in mysticism as the word and the kingdom, are intermixed and united at a higher scale of the emanations in this superior wisdom, which is simply designated the law, the eternal law, right? So you have the word, you have the davar, and you have the kingdom, which is malchut. The word, of course, represents the written text. The malchut represents the Torah shebe'al peh. Why is that? Because the malchut means kingdom, political authority. The authority lies in the Torah shebe'al peh because that's where the law is. The law, meaning what am I obligated to do? What am I prohibited from doing? That's in the Torah shebe'al peh, right? The articulation of the actual halachot, of the actual rules of conduct or misconduct. That's in the Torah shebe'al peh. That's where the authority lies. That's why it's called malchut, kingdom, right? So, but in the pre-creation existence, they were combined. They were intermixed and united at a higher scale of the emanations in the superior wisdom. So there was the Chokhmah Kedumah, the Chokhmah pre-creation, and that Chokhmah pre-creation contained both the Torah Shebichtav and Torah Shebe'al Peh, as Rabbi Eliyahu ben Amozek puts it, the Davar, the word, and the Malchut, which is the Malchut again is the actual application of the word, right? Or what becomes later on, obviously, this is in the pre-creation world, but that Malchut becomes the application of the word. Torah Kedumah, and the word and the kingdom, the written law and the oral law constitute but two halves after its divisions. So, of course, after There is the um, articulation of the Torah Kedumah into a written word, and you need to have the oral interpretation of the written word. That's the end of the Bila Namazet. From the preceding it follows. From the preceding it follows that reading is not and cannot be. So again, from the preceding it follows that reading is not, cannot be the initial contact between the reader and a text. That's amazing. So reading doesn't begin. So you have the book, the text, and you have the reader. So that's where reading begins, isn't it? So from what we just studied, no, there is no innocent reading. Words are never innocent. First, one hears the word and understands it, and finally reads it in the text. So, what do you mean there's no innocent reading? You can't just read, with no preconceived notions, preconceived wisdom, preconceived context. Reading takes place within a particular context. So words don't just exist innocently. It's never innocent. So you hear the word, you have to hear it. Because, for example, if a Chinese speaks, I can't even hear the words, right? There's many types of languages that I wouldn't be able to hear them because I don't have the proper formatting that enables me to hear the various sounds that Chinese can hear so uh, well. And I'm sure there's sounds in English that they can't hear. So you have to hear it. It takes a certain formatting to hear. Even hearing isn't innocent. Hearing, the brain's ability to hear is based upon what the brain is trained to hear. As a child, you heard certain sounds and you process those sounds, and therefore you hear them. But if you didn't hear those sounds when you were a child, you can never hear them. Or maybe you can with intense training, perhaps. Then you understand it. Okay, so now that you can process the actual phonetic slabs, those sounds, now you have to put them together, create a word, and understand the word. And finally, you read it in the text, because reading in the text means combining this word with all the other words in the sentence, and this sentence with all the other sentences in the paragraph, and this paragraph with all the other paragraphs on the page. And I think you see where I'm going to. Concerning the Torah, Maimonides taught that knowledge of reading came after writing. At the end of the educational process, only after there was a written text was there even a possibility. Was there only even a possibility of reading? A poet of the Jewish tribe of Nadir in Medina, when enumerating the essentials of the Jewish scholars, similarly designated reading as the final stage. So you have this pre-creation wisdom, which is integrative, which doesn't require interpretation, which is unarticulated. And then you have an articulated text, right? And the articulated text assumes a public that has the ability to process those words and to organize those words as a text. And then you can read them. But without that pre-stage of the ability to process the phonetic slabs, you couldn't have reading. Fascinating. And therefore, reading is the final stage, not the first stage. People think, oh, there's a book, and now I read it, and that's the first stage, is open the book and read. Incorrect. Reading itself assumes a certain structure.